The story begins in a small restaurant, where a young man named Young-jun is searching for a job after graduating from college. However, due to being overly selective in his job hunt, Young-jun remains unemployed to this day. This has left his parents deeply concerned about his future, as he still hasn't secured stable employment. His mother eventually suggests that Young-jun help out at the restaurant as a food delivery person. At first, Young-jun refuses the offer, but after his mother promises to give him extra pocket money, he reluctantly agrees. At one moment, while delivering an order to a customer, Young-jun encounters a young child who happens to be deaf. Fortunately, Young-jun knows sign language, allowing him to communicate with the child and ask for directions to the swimming pool, which is the delivery destination. After receiving the directions, Young-jun continues on his way. When he arrives at the location, he is struck by the sight of a girl there. His first glimpse of her leaves a lasting impression, and he finds himself inexplicably drawn to her. It turns out that the food order was placed by one of the girl's friends. Not long after, the girl leaves to attend to other matters. Curiosity gets the better of Young-jun, and he gathers the courage to ask someone who had been speaking with her earlier. That person turns out to be the girl's younger sister, who is also deaf. Young-jun then asks for the name of the girl who caught his attention and learns that her name is So Yorum, while her sister is named So Gaol. Not stopping there, Young-jun also asks Gaol for Yorum's phone number, but she refuses to give it to him. Later, while delivering another order, Young-jun runs into Yorum again, who is having trouble with her scooter. The scooter has broken down and won't start. Seeing her situation, Young-jun offers to help, using sign language to communicate. After attempting to fix the scooter, Young-jun realizes that the vehicle needs to be taken to a repair shop and will take some time to fix. Seeing that Yorum seems to be in a hurry, Young-jun offers to lend her his own scooter while he takes hers to the shop. With no other options, Yorum agrees, and they exchange phone numbers to stay in touch. Afterward, Young-jun takes the scooter to his friend Jae-jin's repair shop to get it fixed. The next day, Young-jun informs Yorum that her scooter is ready, and they arrange to meet. Before the meeting, Young-jun washes her scooter thoroughly, making it look as good as new. When they meet, Young-jun can't help but smile often, feeling happy just to see Yorum. At that moment, Young-jun formally introduces himself to Yorum. Since he refuses to accept payment for repairing her scooter, Yorum decides to treat him to a drink as a gesture of gratitude. As they sit together, Young-jun keeps stealing glances at Yorum. Unbeknownst to him, his feelings begin to grow, and he realizes he's falling for her. However, their time together is cut short when Yorum has to leave for her part-time job. After this encounter, Young-jun starts helping out more diligently at his mother's restaurant, perhaps inspired by the newfound motivation in his heart. Young-jun even began cooking meals himself, which he intended to give to Yorum. Knowing this, his parents and Jae-jin were puzzled by Young-jun's sudden change in behavior, as he had become unusually diligent. They began to suspect that their son might be in love. A few days later, Young-jun met Yorum again and handed her the food he had prepared. Unexpectedly, Yorum seemed to enjoy the meal, eating it with great enthusiasm. After finishing her meal, Yorum offered money as a token of appreciation, even though Young-jun had no intention of selling the food. That evening, Yorum was seen counting her savings. It turned out that she was working part-time to fund her younger sister Gaol's swimming training, as Gaol was preparing for an upcoming competition. The next day at the training facility, a commotion broke out. A group of parents protested the presence of several hearing-impaired students who were training there. They argued that sharing the pool with individuals with disabilities could pose a risk to their children. This discriminatory attitude infuriated the coach, who was deeply upset by their actions. After the incident, Young-jun, who had been outside, approached a woman in a red car, one of the parents involved. Young-jun criticized her for her disrespectful attitude toward the deaf community, emphasizing that while they might not hear, they could see and read facial expressions. Harsh words, he pointed out, could still hurt their feelings. However, the woman refused to accept Youngjun's advice. In response, Youngjun discreetly took a photo of the woman and her car, which was parked in a spot reserved for people with disabilities. He reminded her that such actions could result in a hefty fine. Fearing trouble, the woman quickly drove away, while Youngjun reported the incident to the authorities. Later, Youngjun invited Yorum and Gaol to go out and have some fun, hoping to lift their spirits. He took them to an entertainment venue with a disco and bar, where they tried some drinks. Youngjun then led them to a speaker playing loud music and encouraged them to touch it. Though they couldn't hear the music, they could feel the vibrations. It was revealed that Youngjun had brought them there to help them experience what it was like to be part of a world typically enjoyed only by those who could hear. After spending time together, Gaol thanked Youngjun for cheering her up that day. She then decided to head inside early, leaving Yorum and Youngjun alone. Though not many words were exchanged, the two enjoyed each other's company that evening. When Yorum returned home, Gaol greeted her and immediately asked if she was dating Youngjun. In response, Yorum quickly denied it, though deep down, she was beginning to develop feelings for him. Not long after, the day of the swimming competition arrived. During the event, Gaol delivered an outstanding performance and won first place. However, her time was just 1 second short of qualifying for the Olympic trials. Despite this, Yorum felt immensely proud and happy for her sister's achievement. Not only that, she also shared the good news with Youngjun. In response, Youngjun congratulated Gaol on her victory and invited them out to celebrate. However, Yorum declined the offer, explaining that she needed to prepare dinner for her sister. Seeing this, Gaol urged her older sister to go out with Youngjun instead. Youngjun then came up with an idea. He asked Jae-jin to deliver food to Gaol, so he could spend time alone with Yorum, while ensuring Gaol still enjoyed a meal from the restaurant. To add a playful twist, Youngjun warned Jae-jin to leave the food at the door, jokingly claiming that the customer who ordered it was known to be quite intimidating. Once everything was arranged, Yorum dressed neatly and met Youngjun. They prepared to go out together, marking what could be considered their first date. Meanwhile, Jae-jin arrived at Gaol's house and rang the doorbell. When Gaol opened the door, Jae-jin was instantly captivated by her beauty. Unknowingly, he had fallen in love at first sight. A few hours later, a sudden electrical short circuit occurred in the apartment building where Gaol lived, filling the hallways with thick smoke. The smoke seeped into Gaol's unit, causing her to panic. She tried to escape using the elevator, but inside, she struggled to breathe due to the dense smoke. The elevator eventually stopped working, and Gaol lost consciousness. On the other hand, Youngjun and Yorum, who had just finished spending time together, were unaware of what had happened. At that moment, Youngjun was about to confess his feelings to Yorum. However, before he could do so, Yorum received a message informing her that her sister, Gul, had been rushed to the hospital. Without hesitation, Yorum immediately left Youngjun and hurried to the hospital. Upon arriving, Yorum found Gaol receiving treatment. Overwhelmed with guilt, Yorum regretted leaving her sister alone. She felt she should have been by Gaol's side to prevent this from happening. What made it worse was that Gaol was about to compete in a selection event to become a professional swimmer, and Yorum didn't want her sister's decade of hard work to go to waste. However, Gaol tried to reassure Yorum, saying she would be fine and could still set even better records. Despite this, Yorum began distancing herself from Youngjun after the incident, no longer responding to his messages, as if she no longer wanted anything to do with him. Youngjun, who kept waiting for updates from Yorum, grew increasingly confused and anxious. He tried to find Yorum, but never succeeded. Meanwhile, Gaol felt frustrated as her chances of qualifying as an athlete grew slimmer. Seeing her sister's distress, Yorum also felt heartbroken. As a result, Gaol began avoiding Yorum, choosing to return home late with her friends instead. The next morning, without informing her sister, Gaol left for training on her own. Before leaving, she left a message for Yorum, asking her not to come to the training center anymore. Yorum was deeply saddened after reading her sister's note. As she stepped out of the house, she saw Youngjun waiting for her outside. Youngjun immediately approached her and asked what had really been going on. It turned out that Youngjun had come because he wanted to understand why Yorum had been avoiding him. However, Yorum instead asked Youngjun to stop seeing her and not to come around anymore. Youngjun couldn't accept this so easily. He asked if he had done something wrong, especially since he had been so worried about her. Youngjun felt that Yorum hadn't considered his feelings at all. Hearing this, Yorum became upset. She felt that managing her own life was already difficult enough, and now Youngjun was asking her to consider his feelings as well. Youngjun was taken aback by her response. In a soft voice, Youngjun asked if his presence had made Yorum feel burdened. Reluctantly, Yorum admitted that it had. Her answer deeply hurt Youngjun. That evening at the training center, Gal was seen crying because she couldn't perform her best during the selection trials. She realized she had failed and wouldn't advance to the next stage. Yorum, who had been watching her sister from a distance, immediately approached her and apologized. She felt that all of this was her fault, that she had ruined her sister's dreams. However, Gal became angry upon hearing the apology. She was frustrated because her older sister was always thinking about her dreams, even though Yorum had her own dreams to pursue. With a trembling voice, Gal poured out her feelings. She felt guilty because all this time, her sister had sacrificed so much for her, spending hours accompanying her, driving her to and from training every day, working part-time to fund her training, and always being at the pool to support her. At that moment, Gal asked Yorum if her life revolved solely around her, staring at her sister with deep sadness. Gal felt that her own emotions were being dragged into this situation. She had never given up on her dreams, but now she had to watch Yorum in this state. A profound sense of guilt haunted her. With a heavy heart, Gal turned and walked away, leaving Yorum standing there, unable to say a word. Hearing her sister's heartfelt words, Yorum couldn't hold back her tears. Meanwhile, Youngjun seemed listless, constantly thinking about Yorum after being rejected by her. He felt like he had lost all motivation to go about his days. Seeing his friend in such a state, Jae-jin tried to cheer Youngjun up. He encouraged him not to give up and to reach out to the person he loved to clear the air. However, Youngjun revealed that the woman he liked was deaf. Jae-jin was shocked by this confession. He then asked if the person living with Yorum was also deaf. When Youngjun said yes, Jae-jin was stunned again, realizing that he had fallen for Yorum's younger sister. The next day, Youngjun's mother took him aside for a private conversation. She had noticed the change in his demeanor and asked if her son was heartbroken. Honestly, Youngjun admitted that he did like a girl, but she always prioritized her sister's life over her own. The girl he loved was so selfless that she neglected her own dreams. Youngjun also confessed to his mother that the girl couldn't speak or hear. Hearing this, his mother was visibly surprised. Meanwhile, Yorum's mother also offered her some advice. Her mother advised Yorum to pay more attention to her own life, not just her sister's or her parents'. She wanted Yorum to be herself and live according to her own dreams. After receiving her mother's advice, Yorum finally met with Gal. Hesitantly, Gal asked why her sister hadn't pursued a relationship with Youngjun. Apparently, Gal felt that she had become a burden, causing Yorum to avoid Youngjun. With a voice full of sincerity, Gal urged her sister not to give up on her feelings, just as she herself would never give up on her dream of swimming. Gal was determined to keep working hard for her goals. Hearing her sister's words, Yorum began to realize what she truly wanted in life. Elsewhere, Youngjun's mother told her husband that the girl their son liked couldn't hear or speak. Because of this, the girl had ended things with Youngjun to avoid complicating his future. Surprisingly, Youngjun's father didn't mind if his son's girlfriend condition, as long as she had a good heart. Hearing this, Youngjun's mother was pleased with her husband's attitude. Meanwhile, Yo-Room went to the swimming pool and tried to experience what her sister felt when she swam. Soon after, Youngjun arrived at the same place, unnoticed by Yo-Room. Youngjun then confessed his feelings and apologized to Yo-Room for not understanding her situation and for making her feel burdened. Youngjun admitted he felt rejected and didn't like the situation. He also promised to take care of Yo-Room's life, as she had never prioritized herself. Youngjun wanted to make Yo-Room smile because he adored her smile. When Yo-Room turned around and walked toward Youngjun, she smiled and then pulled him into the pool with her. With their relationship now on better terms, Youngjun offered Yo-Room a part-time job at his parents' restaurant. Yo-Room asked if his parents would mind her limitations. Despite this, Youngjun assured her that they would understand, especially since Yo-Room was a hard-working and kind person. Eventually, Yo-Room accepted the offer, and they went to meet Youngjun's parents for an interview. Upon arriving, they were warmly welcomed by Youngjun's parents, who were immediately impressed by Yo-Room's beauty. They had even prepared written introductions about themselves to help Yo-Room understand them better. Youngjun's mother then suggested that Yo-Room and Youngjun rekindle their relationship, as they would understand if Yo-Room had to work while dating their son. Surprisingly, Yo-Room suddenly spoke and agreed to the request. Everyone was shocked because, as it turned out, Yo-Room could speak. Youngjun was equally surprised, as he had always believed she couldn't hear or speak. This meant that, at the pool, Yo-Room had heard every word of Youngjun's heartfelt confession. At that moment, Yo-Room admitted that she also had feelings for Youngjun. Afterward, Youngjun asked Yo-Room if she was the only one in her family who could hear and speak. Yo-Room confirmed this and explained that since childhood, she had assumed all families were like hers. However, her family was different. Her mother had even once told her not to live like them, who couldn't hear or speak. Although Yo-Room was different from her parents and sister, they still lived in the same world, and her mother was incredibly proud of her children. From that moment on, Yo-Room began to realize this and started living more like everyone else. Hearing this, Youngjun was delighted by Yo-Room's transformation as she now began to take charge of her own life. They both seemed happy with how things had turned out. Elsewhere, Gol, who was practicing swimming, was approached by Jae-jin, who arrived wearing a helmet. When she saw him, Gol immediately remembered that Jae-jin was the one who had rescued her when she was trapped in the elevator. At that moment, Gol thanked him for his help. Unexpectedly, Jae-jin also expresses his feelings for Gol using sign language. As a result, Gol smiles and the story comes to an end. Moral lesson from the story: if you're too picky about jobs, you might end up delivering food, but at least you could meet someone who makes your heart break down. Also, learning sign language is handy, not just for talking to cute people, but also for yelling at rude drivers without making a sound.